Okay, that's a great question. So it doesn't go up against any Jewish belief. It goes up against a misunderstanding. But
Okay.
there's also a misunderstanding, and there's also, I'll call it an act of warfare. And let me explain that first. So, in the Torah, it says that when the Jewish people were coming out of Egypt, the nation of Amalek attacked the Jewish people to prevent them from coming to Mount Sinai and receiving the Torah into the world.
Okay.
Because Amalek understood that this was going to be the beginning of its end. Amalek took on to fight God Almighty and to prevent every human being from connecting to God Almighty. It knew that the Jewish people, that the teaching of the Torah was going from a small scale activity. There was, Shem ve'Aver, the children of Noah. Then there was Abraham. There was Yitzchak, Yaakov Avinu, each one of the forefathers, and then Yaakov had 70 sons. So how many people could they actually reach after all? But now there were 6 million Jews coming out of Egypt. And they were all going to Mount Sinai to receive this charge, this instruction, to go and tell the entire world that there's nothing besides God Almighty. And not only that, at the time of the giving of the Torah, the whole world was going to hear it. So Amalek had to stop that. And so it attacked the Jewish people, distracted them, confused them, got them into, a few of them into distractions and inappropriate activities and so forth. And Amalek tried to cool the Jewish people off from going. So Amalek comes in every time and every generation to try to get the Jewish people off track and try to make a separation between the Jews and the non-Jews. Amalek doesn't want people learning Torah, but would rather have a Jew sitting in yeshiva learning Torah as long as he doesn't go outside and speak to the non-Jew. In fact, Amalek would be happy to pay for the yeshiva building. And even while the Jew is sitting in the yeshiva building, he's learning about how terrible Amalek is, and we're, eager to see Amalek wiped away. But he's happy if the Jew is doing that and never reaches out to the non-Jew to spread the message of what's in the Torah. So Amalek is always spreading messages among the Jewish people that the non-Jews hate the Jews, the non-Jews are not interested, all the non-Jews were lined up in Poland to kill their Jewish neighbor, all the non-Jews were lined up in Germany to kill their Jewish neighbor. Don't proselytize because the non-Jews are going to come and start pogroms against the Jews. Now, what they don't tell you is that Amalek organized the Holocaust, organized the communists in Russia, organized the Inquisition, organized the Crusades, and used every opportunity to attack the Jewish people. But Amalek both attacks from the outside and then tells the Jewish people, attacks the Jewish people from the inside to say, no, you see that? You see that scary looking non-Jew and what happened in the past? Don't do anything, don't say anything. So what happens is the Jewish people become afraid to speak out. Meanwhile, Amalek is working among the non-Jews. Amalek is telling the non-Jews, you see that Jew over there? He doesn't care about you. He doesn't have the time to talk to you. He's not interested in how you're doing. He's not interested in your spiritual well-being. For him, that Jew, he's okay. If you worship idolatry, it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care about you, you as a non-Jew. So Amalek is now riling up the non-Jews to be hostile to the Jews. So what happens? Now, the Jew looks outside. He sees a non-Jew that's growling at him. Now the Jew is growling at the non-Jew, and it just proves the point. It just creates the division. So that's what Amalek is busy doing all the time. Every single website online, the 4chan stuff, and all the stuff spreading the anti-Jewish stuff and anti-Torah stuff is all coming from one source. There are intelligence agents sitting there day and night writing this material, and they are confusing a small number of Americans into believing that the Jews are the threat, just like they did in Germany. But the only reason that they are able to gain any ground is because the Jews are not coming out. And in fact, the Jews get more and more withdrawn. They put up bigger barriers because there's threats. What's the purpose of the terrorist attacks against the synagogues? It doesn't have any effect on the Jewish population based on a terrorist attack. But what it does is it gets the Jews to hire security guards And then the non-Jew who just wants to come in and participate is more likely to be excluded than he was 10 years ago, because there's a barrier, and the security guard is looking, recognizes he's not a Jew, and what is he doing here at a synagogue, right? So all these terrorist attacks are meant to increase barriers, just like in Israel, they did the terrorist attacks in order to get the Jewish people to accept the wall being built around them, so that the Jews could not influence the Arabs in the West Bank and on the Gaza Strip. So that isn't, in addition, that's the warfare. In addition, we have the practical experience of being on the receiving end of this warfare, that people are traditionally in Europe, where it was forbidden, it was illegal to go and speak to a Christian about anything besides Christianity. So if a priest came to a rabbi and says, "Do you guys proselytize?" he's not going to say, "Yes, we're eagerly awaiting the day that all your people realize the falsehood that they inherited from their fathers." He's going to say, "We don't proselytize. If someone wants to convert, we'll talk to them. But we're not out there to spread the message. We're not out there to spread the message." So it became almost a survival technique to prevent the reaction from the Christians or from the Muslims. Now, this was not universal, meaning to say, every great Jewish rabbi in history had a group of non-Jews that were even priests and bishops and so forth that would come and want to know off the record what the Torah had to say. In addition to the fact that, if you've read Rabbi Binman's book, The Seven Colors of the Rainbow, he says that the rabbis of Holland actually had so much teaching of the Sheva Mitzvahs, the 7 laws, and the Torah, that all that comes with, that there were non-Jewish Dutch citizens that were writing books on Torah in Dutch. And that was in the 1500s, they influenced the British thinkers that then created the whole American War of Independence. Was a result of that rabbinical influence, because everyone got the point that everyone has that divine spark and no man should be ruling over another man. So there have been, and also in the times of the Roman Empire, I think it was one of the Roman emperors actually was a person who got rid of the idolatry, and he was turning the whole Roman Empire over into the becoming righteous Hasidic Salem, and then the Christians assassinated him, and then it burned the libraries to eradicate all the signs of Jewish influence. So the truth is that throughout history, the Jewish people have always been spiritual influencers, and but in more recent times, because of the pressures of the exile and the persecutions, people kind of took of like, we're just going to hope to stay alive today, and we don't have the time or energy to be able to go out there. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, in our generation, there's absolutely no danger from talking to the non-Jews and teaching them about the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. On the contrary, the danger in our generation is from not teaching the non-Jews. So the opposition is a residual opposition. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people, they are getting false information, false teachings. I have many classes online exposing the false teachings that mislead Jewish people into thinking that it's okay for a Christian to be a Christian. All kinds of, unfortunately, wrong misunderstandings that are being fomented in order to confuse Jews into staying silent. And it's a terrible, terrible situation. But we have to break through it. We have to be the ones to just keep going ahead and talking to every human being, and the rest of the Jews are going to come along as soon as the number of non-Jews knocking on the door, as I've had in my own house, non-Jews knocking to come and learn, just from divine providence that God put in their minds to go, they need to learn Torah as a non-Jew. It's going to happen more and more, and the Jews are not going to be able to have any excuses anymore why they're not available, and they'll have the answers already because they've been learning this Torah. We've been protecting this Torah from any outside influence for thousands of years, so it'll be available for this moment in time that a non-Jew could come and learn what applies to them.